Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Ashton Jackson, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about free agency, man. It's going to be a week away from now. There's a bunch of names that the Dallas Cowboys have been linked to, whether it's some star pass rushers, Nakobe, Dean. We've been linked to a lot of different players, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the situation. So, before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. Right now, I'm going to put a date up on the screen, and at time this recording is March 2nd. So from a week from today will be legal tampering permitted for pending free agents, and then March 11th will be the first day of the new league year. So right now, there's a bunch of trades that are happening right now with like David Montgomery being sent to the Texans sending off offensive linemen to the Browns. We're seeing a bunch of trades going down right now and a bunch of signings happening. Kyler Murray got released. There's a lot of different things and moving pieces that are going on right now, right? So the number one free agent that is more than likely probably going to happen if the Dallas Cowboys don't screw it up, and that is the Dallas Cowboys have been linked to linebacker Nakobe Dean. It makes sense for a ton of reasons, one of them being from him formerly playing at Philadelphia and him having ties with Christian Parker. The thing about me with Nakobe Dean, and the only pause of concern or caution that I have when it comes to this player, is his health. I'm not worried about his ability to play. I understand he can play. I've been watching him since Georgia, and that was a player that I wanted to draft day one in 2022 before Tyler Smith ended up being a all-pro guard for us, right? But with his availability issues, I have a problem with that because we already have that same issue with DeMarvin Overshown. So Nakobe Dean and DeMarvin Overshown, when those guys are playing, that's going to be arguably one of our best linebacker duos we've ever had since God knows when, right? But if there could be a stretch where Nakobe Dean is playing, Demo isn't. Demo's playing, Nakobe isn't. But the way that I'm moving, the way that I would move as GM, I would still bring in a guy like Nakobe Dean. But I'm also looking at some of the linebackers. I'm looking at a possible Packers linebacker, Quay Walker. I'm looking at Alex Singleton. I'm also might be looking at a Devin Bush. I might be looking at a Demario Davis or a Bobby Wagner. So those are some names, or a Bobby Okereke, a name that Brian Schottenheimer brought up last year from September. Really respects and loves his play and his temperament, things like that. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, there's three free agent position they should be looking at. That's linebacker, DN, and safety. So that's one of the names that have been linked to us. Now we're going to hop into the second one. The second one, basically any star pass rusher is going to be linked to the Dallas Cowboys. So whether that's Jalen Phillips, Trey Hendrickson, and Maxx Crosby. There has been a report that has been made by NFL insider Albert Breer is saying that Maxx Crosby is more than likely, that trade is going to happen as soon as this week. And the teams are looking in that have interest in him is, of course, Dallas Cowboys, because they're going to be linked to every big name because they said how active they could potentially be and bust the budget. So I'll just pay attention, caution that, salt when you hear these news, right? But Dallas, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, Philly, and the Rams are keeping tabs on his availability. So those are 7 teams right there that are linked to him. The Las Vegas Raiders star pass rusher. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, we've done plenty of big trades with the Las Vegas Raiders, so I will try and see if we can get something manageable or serviceable for a guy like Maxx Crosby. If we have to give up pick 12 to go get him, I'm not really too concerned. I would rather much give up pick 20 and next year's second round pick to make the deal happen. But if the Raiders are looking for a crap ton of assets for him, if they're looking for 2 first round picks and a player, I don't think I can really do that for them. I mean, I'd give them 12 and 20, or I can give them 12 in next year's first round pick that we own, and then have that be the situation. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not giving up 12 and 20 and then Kenny Clark or whatever the case might be. But if we gotta get in Maxx Crosby, if that's what it takes to bring in Maxx Crosby, I'm not tripping. But if you're going to give up 12 and 20, Dallas Cowboys have to be major players in free agency, and then whatever day 3 picks they have remaining in this year's draft, they just have to lock in and draft a behinds off, So Trey Hendrickson, I believe, would be a more suitable option for the Dallas Cowboys, only because if he doesn't get franchise tagged again, meaning Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals, you can possibly just sign him to a decent deal. He just came off of, two really good productive seasons prior to this year with him dealing with a bunch of injuries. But the last 2 years of his deal in Cincinnati, he played his ass off and getting about 17 and a half sacks. A really great and disruptive player. I would love for a guy like Trey Hendrickson to get here. But Trey Hendrickson, Maxx Crosby, those guys don't stop me if, let's say, for example, we have Maxx Crosby, but somehow, some way, we keep Big 12 and Ruben Baines available to you. Ruben Baines does not, Maxx Crosby, Trey Hendrickson does not stop me from getting a plethora of pass rushers that can come in and make a difference. That's all that I'm saying. So I would love a guy like Trey Hendrickson or Maxx Crosby, but get one of those guys to pair with a Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, a Von Miller, a Cameron Jordan. If Jalen Phillips is going to be your big name guy, pair him with a guy like a Kelavon Chason, an Odof Owe, a Boye Mafe, a Bradley Chubb. Like, those are things that I'm saying, because right now it's being reported that Donovan Ezraku is going to miss most of the offseason spring program because of a hip injury that he has to get surgery for. So the Dallas Cowboys, what are the odds? We are needing a pass rusher. So we're going to need pass rushers, we're going to need starters, and we're going to need depth pieces. So those are some names that I brought up. Safety, the other name we've been linked to, right? Safety. It has been said that the Dallas Cowboys are linked to Denver Broncos safety PJ Locke. And then there's also been reports of Donovan Wilson being fluid to potentially return. For me, that second part of that report, I don't like that. For me, Donovan Wilson does not... If I am the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not bringing back Donovan Wilson. If Wilson wants to play special teams as like the sixth safety, I have no problem in doing that. But I just don't want Donovan Wilson on this team because he's a liability in coverage. I don't want this coaching staff to feel obligated to make a game plan for him. I don't want to see him playing any sort of deep safety. I don't want to see him in coverage in general. We've seen it way too many times, the same song and dance. He's a linebacker in a safety's body. The Dallas Cowboys should not bring him back. No hatred. I loved him when he was here. It's just, let's try and get better. Let's get better on purpose. Let's not get worse on purpose. So, also, shout out to Nick Harris, part of the Fort Worth Star Telegram. He came up with some names that the Dallas Cowboys should be looking for, and that has ties to either people on staff like Ryan Smith, King, Robert Ainsley and Marcus Dixon and all these guys, right? So some names that Nick Harris mentioned were linebacker Quay Walker, Texans outside linebacker EJ Speed, Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean, Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton, Raiders cornerback Eric Stokes, Eagles safety Reed Blankenship, Broncos safety PJ Locke, Cardinals safety Jalen Thompson, last but not least, Ravens defensive end Tremont Jones. Those are names I believe, all those names that were brought up except for Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, I think those are starters. I think Quay Walker can come here and be a starter. I think Nakobe Dean can come here and be a starter. I think if Jalen Thompson or PJ Locke or Reed Blankenship, if any of those three safeties were here, they could start. But they're not stopping me from still wanting to trade for Mika Fitzpatrick, still wanting to go sign a free agency, a better safety in free agency, or drafting one at 20 if that's Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, transfer from Purdue, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. If somehow, some way, God blesses us and we get Caleb Downs at 12, boy, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I cry when we got CeeDee Lamb, but I'm damn sure gonna cry if we get Caleb Downs at 12. But those are all the names that have been linked. So now I'm going to talk about what I want, right? And what I want the Dallas Cowboys to do. For me, I think it comes down to these three things. I think the Dallas Cowboys need to sign 3 big free agents, and they need to be at all 3 levels of the defense. I believe they need to be at linebacker, edge, and safety. Now, I already talked about some of the linebackers like Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, and Bobby Okereke, right? But if Devin Lloyd is a player that the Dallas Cowboys want to pivot to and say, you know what, if we're going to pay Nakobe Dean decent linebacker money, let's up the ante. Let's make that. Let's add another $2-3 million. Let's go try and go get a better player in Devin Lloyd, and pair him with, again, the names I just named earlier. Whether that's Demario Davis, a Bobby Wagner, a Bobby Okereke. I just want as many linebackers as I possibly can. Again, not trying to overstuff the depth chart with them, but I'm trying to get as much talent as I possibly can because I don't know about the availability of DeMarvin Overshown. It'll be our luck that DeMarvin Overshown gets healthy on the last year of his contract and he'll be looking for a bigger deal next year. I will not be surprised. But I also won't be surprised if the Dallas Cowboys do one of those, we like our guy signing way too early and we give DeMarvin Overshown a 5-year deal before he hits the open market. I can see them doing that around training camp, so I won't be surprised there. But I just don't have tremendous faith in this linebacker room. I had a little bit of faith going into last year, but after the horrendous showing that the team has shown us, I'm just not really all in on the linebacking core as some others might be. Bring in Nakobe Dean. I like Devin Bush as a rotational backer. If Devin Lloyd is going to be your starter, bring in a guy like Demario Davis. If you want Quay Walker to be your starter, bring in a Bobby Wagner. You know, if you want to get two cheap guys like Devin Bush and Bobby Okereke, and you want to draft CJ Allen at 20, linebacker from Georgia, please do it. Or hell, same thing, we'll get Nakobe Dean, go get another linebacker from Georgia and go get CJ Allen. If you like Malcolm Rodriguez from Texas Tech, if you want to bring him in and pair him with another guy, let's do it. Or it's a Jacob Rodriguez. I'm sorry, Jacob Rodriguez is the name. But still, either which way, none of these guys stop me from drafting a damn good player at the money that we spend on in free agency. Now, defensive end, I think one of the 3 guys that can come here and make a difference for you to be part of that big 3, one of the positions that I said that can fit, that the Dallas Cowboys need to be looking at in free agency. I think if you bring in a guy like Trey Hendrickson, you pair that up with a Khalil Mack, or a Trey Hendrickson and a Boye Mafe, Trey Hendrickson and a Bradley Chubb. If you want to make Jalen Phillips your top-notch guy, bring him and or Khalil Mack. Jalen Phillips or Kelvon Chason. Jalen Phillips or Von Miller. You know, Jalen Phillips or Boye Mafe. Let's just get really good studs that can come in here and play really good football for you. But again, if we get Maxx Crosby and Khalil Mack, which would be crazy because that would be 2 former really great defensive ends for the Raiders, or formerly for the Raiders in Khalil Mack's case. But if we're able to bring in those guys and you're telling me that Arvell Reese is available to you at 12, or if a guy like Ruben Baines, again, is available to you, hell, that pass rush will be dynamic, along with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark will be nasty, dude. Cornerback, I didn't bring up a whole bunch of names on this spot because I truly feel like the Dallas Cowboys are going to spend one in free agency. Now, if they don't get a corner that they like at 12, I think they should trade for a cornerback or possibly look to sign one in free agency if they know if they're feeling the temperament on what the cornerback situation could possibly be come draft time. If they want to draft, if they want to sign like a Reek Williams, then that would be acceptable to me. But this is the list that I came up with. I would love an Amik Robertson at corner. He's a feisty corner. Played for the Raiders, played for the Lions, was a really big part for what they were doing with the Lions. He was part of the reinforcements that they brought in 2024 when they were rebuilding that defense. Greg Newsome is another player I really like that can play outside. I love Cam Taylor-Britt. He can play the slot. I believe that right here, the Dallas Cowboys, they can rewrite their wrong in 2021 in the second round. Instead of them picking Kelvin Joseph, they could have took a better player, and that was Asante Samuel Jr. I would love for him to be in a Dallas Cowboy uniform. And then Rock Ya-Sin, I believe, can be a really solid depth piece for you on this team. Now, safety. I already talked about Minkah Fitzpatrick a bunch of times. Why? Because we tried trading for him at the trade deadline, November 4th, 2025. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I would definitely try to make a move for that. Jalen Thompson, safety from Arizona, is linked to us just because of the Ryan Smith connection. And Ryan Smith and Christian Parker, they're tied at the hip. They really respect each other, and they bounce ideas off, and they respect each other a lot. So I can see a lot of these players have coached one of these players before, and that's why they're being linked to us, right? I would like Kyle Duggar, really solid for the Patriots, but then when he got traded to the Steelers. He was really solid for the Steelers as well. I like Kevin Byard a lot. He's a veteran safety, had a lot of production last year for the Chicago Bears. I would like for him to be here if we possibly can get him on a. If he can come here and make some plays, I wouldn't mind that. Reed Blankenship's already been brought up. Jaquan Brisker is somebody else, but the last name that I'm gonna bring up for this video is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I believe that this is a player that again has had ties with Christian Parker, but I like a guy like Chauncey Gardner on this team because he can remind me of a guy like a Jaron Curse in terms of the attitude in which he can bring for your defense. He is that run, hit, talk shit type of safety where he gonna come down, fill in the run game, gonna tackle, is gonna make a big play. He's gonna be a momentum shifter that we need on that defensive side. That's a really good role player that the Dallas Cowboys should possibly look to add to their team. So again, we have a really good coaching staff in my eyes. I'm not going to get too caught up in the hoopla with the Dallas Cowboys being linked to a bunch of names. They need to show me, because again, I'm not here for all the talking when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys and what they do. You're just going to have to show me. I'm not a Debbie Downer. I have some sort of belief, but I'm just not going to be fully sold in on this team until they show me something. So that's about it for the video. Hopefully you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.